is on the right side. So we're going to choose number 8 to go along the right side. So here's our width. We already have it at 6.5, and our recommended length is 2. I usually go between 2 and 3. Okay, we have selected the right hand stitch, which means when we put our fabric into the machine, there's a groove in your presser foot right here, and that's where you want the edge of your fabric to go. To start off, we have that one edge that we folded under and ironed under, and we tucked it under there. So we're going to start with the folded side of the fabric away from us, and we're going to put our fabric in here, line it up with that groove, and take out your pin. We're going to push this little button right here, which will make your needle go down into your fabric, so that when you stop stitching, it will stay in the down position. You can turn a corner without losing the place in your fabric. So there you have a nice stitch. It's smooth, it's right along that edge, and we've closed up this end right here. So we just clip those threads off and we have one necktie. Now let's do that with the rest of our pieces. Okay, so we've pulled the bias tape out of the package. It's folded in half, and then it's folded in on the edges. And one edge is actually a little bit, sticks out a little bit more than the other. So you want to sew on the shorter edge to make sure that you catch the fabric on the back side. So here's how bias tape works. We're going to put bias tape around the edge of our apron and the edge of our pocket. So you're going to put your fabric into the bias tape all the way to the fold. And you're going to stitch on the top side, on the shorter edge, right close to that edge, and it'll catch the bias tape in the other side. One thing about bias tape is you're going to have a place where it starts and finishes, and so you'll have a seam overlapping each other, and that can look kind of ugly unless you have a plan. So we're going to place our button right here to hide that seam. You want to make sure your fabric is pushed all the way up into your bias tape, and we'll put a pin in place just to get it started. Okay? So in this case, we're stitching along this edge right here. I'm going to show you how to do a straight stitch on bias tape. I'm just using a scrap piece of fabric and a scrap piece of bias tape because I want to use a decorative stitch. But for those who want to use a straight stitch, follow these instructions throughout. So your bias tape will go on the right side of your fabric. Your fabric gets pushed all the way up to that fold. You want to put your needle in the left side straight stitch, and you want to line up the left edge of your bias tape with the left groove in your presser foot, like this. Take out your pin, put your needle down into your fabric, check to make sure your fabric is all the way inside to the fold, make a knot, and then proceed to stitch forward, keeping the edge of your bias tape in line with that groove on the left. Always continuing to check and make sure that your fabric is inside, all the way inside of your bias tape up to that fold. When you're finished, make a knot. Remove the needle and clip your thread. And there you have it, a nice straight stitch. The decorative stitch that I've decided to use on my machine is number 15. And it's sort of like a little half circle ridge. So the recommended width is 6.5 and the recommended length is 0.5. I'm going to use the recommended width of 6.5. However, I'm moving it up to almost 1. 0.5 would be here, right in the middle of 0 and 1. And I'm moving it up to almost 1 because I don't need it to be a very tight stitch. I just want it to hold the bias tape in place, and I want to move through this rather quickly. So now, using the very same technique of applying our bias tape to the edge of our fabric, we're going to go around the entire edge of our apron. We're going to start at the top corner. Again, here, just make it even with the raw edge. Put your initial starting pin to hold things in place while you get started. Okay, once again, we are lining up our presser foot, lining up the left edge of our bias tape with that groove on the left side of your presser foot. Remove your pin first before you start stitching. I've broken a lot of needles forgetting to do that. Put your needle down in. Remember to go reverse and forward a couple of times in order to create a knot. Check to make sure your fabric is always lined up inside the crease and stitch. To a corner. This corner is not as sharp of a corner. We just follow whatever angle we have. So we pinch it, fold it, so you get something that looks like this. Lay it flat. Long edges are great. So now we're getting to the bottom of our apron and we're coming into some curves. And we're just going to have to work around those curves like we did with the pocket. But this time, the curves are going to go into inner curves. Here we are back at the sewing machine. We have our two neck straps, which are the shorter ones, and we have our two waist ties, which are the longer ones. This is the front top neckline of your apron. So we're going to flip it over so we have the wrong side facing us. We're going to take our neck ties. So I want to fold this under. We don't want a raw edge showing. Fold it under about a half inch, and then just place it right here. Okay, so we've pinned the neck straps on, and that's the top. and then it comes here, and this is going to be where the waist is, and these are the waist straps are going to go here. So we're going to pin them. That raw edge is going to get pinned right back here. Again, our needle is in the far right position, and we're going to line up the edge of our presser foot, not the groove, the edge of our presser foot with the edge of our fabric. Put your presser foot down, remove your pins, and insert your needle into the fabric. Make sure you go back and forth to create a knot, and then we're going to stitch in a square. This way, this way, this way, across, and then once diagonally, corner to corner. So once again, we've got the needle on the far right side of the presser foot, and we are going to line up the right side of our bias tape, our pocket bias tape, with that groove that we used earlier. Starting at the top of the pocket, put your needle down into your fabric, create a knot, and then we're going to stitch all the way around the edge.